Hey everybody, GC13 here. The Capture the Flag arc is the final confrontation between two ways of Creek life. The freedom of play as you please our characters have enjoyed their entire lives, and the oppressive rule of King Xavier. Craig is a true believer in the fight against King Xavier, but this same struggle plays out inside him. He wants to protect everyone's freedom, it's true, but he can't do it alone. He needs their help. And he had so much trouble convincing everyone that Xavier was a threat. It was so frustrating. If they had just listened to him, the invasion would never have happened in the first place. Now, when Craig gets the chance to take the crown, he passes it up, but the temptation was there. With the third season over and the entire Creek finally free, I think it's worth looking at what Craig of the Creek has to say about governance. It's really easy to tell what the other side of the Creek is. It's an absolute monarchy. It's also about as good a depiction of totalitarianism as you're going to get in a show about kids who play at the Creek and then go home to their parents. King Xavier runs just about everything, telling you what to wear, what candy you're allowed to eat, based on how much he likes you, of course, and if you don't want to play exactly the way he wants you to play, that's just too bad. With the other side being so far on the oppressive end of the spectrum, you would expect our side of the Creek to be just as extreme on the freewheeling end, but it really isn't. Yes, there's very little structure to how the side is run, but it's made up of many groups of kids, and those groups have clear leaders. Make no mistake though, those kids are definitely leaders, not rulers. Craig is the glue that holds the Stump kids together, balancing between Kelsey and JP, and finding compromise solutions wherever possible. Mackenzie is the loudest horse girl and decides how they're going to play, but if she goes too far, Mamie feels comfortable calling her out for it. Eustace may be the honored leader of the Ninja Kids, but her very first appearance sees her being chastened for failing to live up to the ninja ideal. That being said, it wasn't just dumb luck that the Council of the Creek was able to get things done with the members it had. Every member of the council is either a strong, independent kid, very influential in their group, or their group's primary wielder of power. And with whatever power they had, they were able to turn the council's decisions into reality. Basing it off of the student council meeting he saw Bernard taking part in, Craig created the council with the requirement of a unanimous vote. And for its first issue, limiting the circle game, this turned out to be quite the lucky break. The council was new, it had no power of its own, no way to force a member who voted against a measure to abide by it anyway. The only way to control the game Creek-wide was to convince all the movers and shakers that it needed to be controlled. Do you really think Mike was going to slow down, let alone get his paintballers too, just because there was a majority vote against him? While the council started with that requirement of a unanimous vote, it didn't stay that way. When it was convened to solve a second issue, bees plaguing the trading tree, the council found itself deadlocked and unable to move forward due to Bobby's frankly ridiculous refusal to vote in favor of removing the bees.
You're all missing the point. Bees make honey. We should befriend them, so they bring little pots of honey to your house and do all your laundry and homework, like the bees in Honey Paw.
If the council didn't act, though, the trading tree would remain unusable, making Creek life unlivable. So, Wilderness called a vote to switch the council to a majority vote system. Remember, when she proposed this, the council still required unanimous approval to do anything. Bobby never voted for it. The measure never should have passed. But institutions are made up of people, not pieces of paper. Everyone else on the council wanted to act, and so they did. The rest of the Creek didn't care how the problem got fixed. They just wanted their trading tree back. They got it back, but a precedent was set. The next time the council was called for a vote, they were evenly split, with just a single vote to decide the issue. And that issue was whether to allow King Xavier through the overpass. This time, Bobby did side with the majority, inviting a tyrant into their side of the Creek. Now, I don't know if we were supposed to notice that the switch to majority rule was illegal or not, because that's a whole other video about subversion of institutions. But I promise you that Craig being burned by that change was very much an intended lesson. He got what he wanted in the short term, but the blade cut both ways, and he found himself being hurt by it in the long term. It might be considering this lesson that finally convinced Craig that the Creek didn't need a king. The other side's first king, Kenneth, was a great guy. When he was the king, it was all just a game between friends. Cheyenne, the next king, took it far more seriously, but what little we've seen of her shows that her subjects really did like her. Eventually, you get a bad king though, and that king was Xavier. There was no guarantee that Craig would be a good king, but even if him becoming king could make things better in the short term, it could also make things so much worse in the long term. What do you guys think? Are you glad that Craig turned down the crown? Do you think he would have been a good king? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more cartoon videos.